Taurus, welcome to your weekly reading for August 29th to September the 4th. Let's get started here for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising, and see what messages we have for you. Keeping in mind that these are general readings and may not resonate for everyone. So take the messages that do and check out your other placements because you could have some messages there as well. All right, for Taurus, let's see. What is the energy around the week ahead for Taurus? What is the energy around the week ahead for Taurus? Thinker. Okay. Ooh, that fell on the floor. It's fork in the road. What's this one that wants to flip over? And that one. Okay. Let's see. We got fork in the road, thinker. Thinker was in reverse. Let's leave it that way. And we're being guided to observe here. Very interesting set of cards. Okay, so let's see what's on the bottom of the deck. Is no place like home in reverse. So that tells me right off the top that there is something here calling you to be authentic, Taurus. You're being called to be authentic and to sort of stop overthinking about stuff and start observing, because you're going to have a choice to make here and you're going to need to be flexible. So I feel like if we're seeing thinker here in reverse, that sort of tells me that you might be overthinking, you might be overanalyzing, you might be sort of really, really overthinking something that you should just be observing, because you're going to find out what you're looking for if you observe the dynamic instead of overthinking it. I also feel like you're going to need to make a decision, perhaps this week. Perhaps you're ramping up to it this week. But we see fork in the road here and flexible, which is, again, sort of guiding you to, excuse me, a place where you're not feeling so rigid, so fixed. You know, you're not feeling... Which is funny, I say fixed because you're a fixed sign. So your tendency to be fixed is sort of ingrained. But you're really being guided to be more flexible this week. And I think it's because you've got a decision coming up that is going to need you to be authentic. And we're seeing no place like home sort of reversed here on the bottom of the deck. So something that's going to require you to really understand yourself. And so sort of cooling down the overthinking. If you catch yourself running through scenarios in your mind and you're overthinking things too much, trying to just be an observer instead, really trying to be an observer instead of overthinking this, because when it comes time to making this decision, you need to be ready and flexible and not feeling too rigid, and also feeling like you can be authentic, because I feel like whatever you choose, whatever you choose here, you're going to have to sort of exist in those parameters after you make that choice. And I think that's why we're seeing no place like home, because this is going to be surrounding you. And so if it doesn't authentically feel right for you, it's going to need to be transformed somehow. And I think that's the fork in the road, is that if this doesn't feel authentic for you, then, you know, by being flexible and observing the dynamic, hopefully you'll be able to see what fits and what doesn't without being too rigid. Right? This is very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see what the tarot cards will reveal here for you. Hierophant in reverse. You know, this feels like something that is really going to be impactful. There's the Hermit. Something that really... There's the Devil. Wow. What a interesting first row. You got a first row full of major arcana, Taurus. Let's see what's on the bottom is the Ten of Cups. Your reading last week was about a relationship, I remember. And about needing to really be, I think it had, you had like the truth be told card and stuff like that. Like really needing to be honest about some relationship that you're in. And seeing the Hierophant and the Hermit and the Devil and the Hanged Man here in reverse is very interesting. because it makes me wonder, really, this is more about you than a relationship at this point. This is your journey that you're on, and you're moving through some major arcana here on your journey. The Hierophant here in reverse suggests to me that there's something that's been around for a while and it's not serving you. It's outdated. It's something that could be sort of ego-based right now, and it needs to be more connected to spirit. You need to sort of find the deeper meaning, the bigger picture when it comes to whatever this dilemma is that you're facing. Something, I think it has to do with this relationship. You're looking for something that feels fulfilling. And we've got the Hermit and the Devil here lined up, and the Fool landing in between. So it's very interesting. And then the Seven of Pentacles. Wow. That Hanged Man in reverse is sort of making me feel like right now you're having a hard time surrendering to what you feel needs to happen next. And it might be because you're overthinking it. We saw that in the Thinker at the beginning of your reading. But the Hanged Man in reverse can also sort of be an indication that we need to sort of release our hold, that we might be holding on to something. We need to release that hold. You might be feeling kind of stubborn, which is why we're seeing that flexible card, Taurus. And you might not be paying attention to that inner voice. You might be solely looking at this on a practical, material level. And as a result, you're having a hard time seeing that there's actually a new beginning here for you. But that Hermit and the Devil are here, I think, because more reflection is required so that you can understand what's motivating you. Are you being motivated by what's happening in the material world, or are you able to look at it from a bit of a distance to see the bigger picture here, that there's actually a new beginning, and that it's like, where do you want to invest yourself? There is a fork in the road. You are going to have to make a decision about this. And overthinking is not helping you. It's turning. See, we see the King of Swords here in reverse. And the King of Swords in reverse with that overthinking energy is fair. Like, I mean, the King of Swords in reverse can become very cold and calculating, because it's almost this rigid thinking, again, that needs to control things. And you're being guided away from that this week, Taurus. You're really being guided to make decisions about where you're emotionally fulfilled. Where do you feel like it's no place like home? Where are you observing that you sort of have this energy around you that's no longer serving you? You know what I mean? Like, I almost feel like Taurus has a decision to make about potentially a relationship, but also about this idea that, I wonder if you're having some interesting mixed messages coming through that inner voice, because I see the High Priestess in reverse, Hierophants in reverse, we see the Hermit, so many major arcana. This feels like such a powerful moment for you, Taurus, where you're about to make a decision about something, and you need to be clear on your motives and on where your emotional fulfillment is. Where do you feel most authentic? Where do you wish to invest yourself? And where do you not wish to invest yourself? And it feels like by thinking about this over and over again, you're actually just becoming more and more rigid, more and more stubborn, more and more focused on one outcome. And it's almost like you're being invited to just observe this dynamic from a different perspective, because you might be focusing a bit pessimistically on things, and you might need to sort of feel more grateful and get sort of this, it's almost like the cards are giving you this like gentle nudge to stop complaining and focusing on the negative, which is, I think, why we're seeing Thinker in reverse, because you're overthinking what's not working instead of seeing what does work. You know what I mean, Taurus? It's interesting. You might you might need to really look at this from a couple of different perspectives before you make your decision. Because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity here in whatever it is that you're overthinking. You know, for some of you, it's going to be a relationship. For others of you, it might be something to do with a different area of life. It might have to do with, you know, where you spend most of your money, where you spend most of your energy, where you spend most of your time. But for others of you, this involves a relationship and the home life. And it's almost like you're looking at things without really seeing what you have. You know, you're looking at it from a certain perspective, and you need to take it a little bit deeper and trust and surrender instead of feeling so rigid and controlling. You know, it's very interesting. Let's see here. What does Taurus need to surrender or surrender to? Surrender or surrender to. Okay, yeah, for some of you, this is definitely a relationship. We see here, surrender your fear of intimacy. Okay, so for some of you, I'm saying this is a relationship for sure. And the other message you got is surrender defensiveness. So we see her in fear of intimacy. You are ready to let love in, compassionately identify and begin to release any patterns that stop you from opening your heart. Very interesting. You know, for the ones of you that this is about a relationship, it's almost like there's a fear here that's keeping you from being completely connected to someone else. And you may have it in your mind that this person's not right for you, but could it be that perhaps, you know, it's a fear of intimacy? For some of you, that's the message coming through. Now, surrender defensiveness says here, defensiveness is a sign of weakness. To communicate in a more empowered way, stay centered and hear someone out, then offer a clear, non-defensive response. So this message is coming through, making me feel like that's part of this idea of being flexible and not being too stubborn and not needing to overly control anything here. To sort of trust what you see. Don't overthink things so that you're in a corner and there's only one pathway, right? You've limited yourself in that way. This feels like a moment where it's like, identify where you feel emotionally fulfilled and where you need to take a leap of faith and to sort of understand your motives and to see this from a new perspective. Because right now it's almost like you're rejecting something, but are you also being a bit rigid and pessimistic about that thing that you're rejecting? Maybe you need to have another look at it, Taurus. I feel like that's sort of what this reading is guiding you towards is, are you really feeling at home with yourself right now so that you can make this decision without being too rigid? You know, it's interesting. This no place like home card in reverse makes me think that there's something going on here that's making you uncomfortable. You know, it's making you uncomfortable, and that uncomfort could be happening to get you to sort of observe things from a different perspective. It's a very interesting reading for you this week, Taurus. I hope it's been helpful. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to reading for you again very soon. Sending you so much love and light, my friends. Take care.